Hey guys, welcome back to Community Starcraft 2. I'm Magnet, and today I'm bringing you a very interesting video. This is going to be Zerg macro and benchmarks, but there's really not too many benchmarks we're going to cover in this video since Zerg is a lot more kind of freewheeling than the other two races. I just thought I'd name it the same as the other videos for consistency. So what we're going to be talking about today is all about how to play Zerg throughout the course of a game and how to just continue to keep that machine rolling. Zerg is a very APM intensive race in the sense that you're going to be doing a lot of repetitive actions and you need to do them all very quickly. So if you haven't watched the video previous to this, which goes over all the mechanics, you definitely want to check that out because that lays the foundation for what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be focusing a lot on making sure that we are making workers and that we're spending our money, which is the fundamental way to play Zerg, and more importantly that we're not making army units that are just standing around throughout the course of a game. Zerg is really different from the other two races in the sense that if you have everything that's constricted by larva, you want to be sure that you're spending your larva as effectively as possible and that you're not being baited into making units that you don't have to make, because then that just takes away from your drone count, and a high drone count means your ability to just continually reinforce over and over and over and just overwhelm the opponent with just wave after wave of Zerg stuff. So without further ado, I will be honest with you guys and mention that I am a little bit nervous about this video because this Zerg is my worst race, and I'm expected to just keep up what I'm preaching to you guys, so hopefully I'll be able to do that and talk at the same time. It's pretty hard, but I've been practicing a little bit so that I can get this video out for you guys, but what I want you to do is a macro drill that we're going to do in this video. I want you to do this drill over and over and over until you're comfortable enough with Zerg mechanics that you can take this on the ladder and apply the same concepts. The drill we're going to be doing is seeing how quickly we can max, how low we can keep our money, and how much creep we can get spread all over the map. So if you want to do this, you can just copy what I'm doing here. We're going to play on Accolon Waste. Go ahead and hit create game. You don't want to hit join game, you'll play a random opponent. When you get in here, we're going to add an AI. We're going to switch to Zerg first. We're going to add an AI. We're going to play against an elite AI, and it's going to be against an elite Protoss. We want to have him do a pretty powerful build so that we can demonstrate that the way you win as Zerg is just wave after wave after wave of huge armies. So I want you to choose the aggressive Colossi build, and we'll set him to a different color. I don't even think it really matters because I have team colors on anyway. And this music's kind of scaring me because it's pretty intense, and I don't know if I'm ready for this, so I hope that you guys are as well. We'll go ahead and start the game, and I apologize if I make mistakes while I'm talking. It's pretty difficult to have all this APM and keep up on what's going on, but hopefully you will learn something along with me while we go through this video. So this is going to be pretty fast, and I might have to just stop talking at some point so I can keep up on what's going on. But you can copy this general build order and use it in pretty much any matchup up until after about 20 supply. So here we go. First thing you want to do is make sure you're getting drones out as soon as you have 50 minerals. You don't want any money sitting around, especially when you know all you have to do is make drones. We're also going to send our Overlord out so we can get a little bit of information as far as what the opponent is doing. Coming up on that 50 drones again, we definitely want to get that. Or not 50 drones, 50 minerals. If we had 50 drones already, the game would be over. So okay, on 9 supply we're going to want to make our first Overlord. And I'm sorry if the Queen voice is a little annoying. She will hear that throughout your own games as well, considering you're going to want to be making sure that you're just pushing the limits of Zerg as hard as you can and spending your money the instant it needs to be spent. So, long story short, don't have larvae sitting around, and make sure you always have enough larvae to do what you're doing, but make sure you're spending your money as soon as it can be spent. So as soon as that Overlord's done, I need 2 more drones. We'll send this Overlord down to our natural so we can spot for any weird stuff that might be going on. We have a larva sitting around, and I did miss that for just a second, so that's my mistake. And if we want to make another drone, we're just going to rail on that button as hard as we can to get that out as fast as possible. I'm going to rally this 14th drone back here so I can make my spawning pool on 14. It should be basically as soon as he finishes, so we'll see if we time that out correctly. And yeah, there we go. Okay, cool. We're going to drone back up to about 16. We're going to take our hatchery. Let me get my notes here to make sure I'm following this the way that I wanted to. Again, we had a larva sitting there for just a second. You want to minimize that as much as possible. And if you can hotkey your Overlord so you can jump back and forth between your base and the Overlord itself to see what it sees, then that's a really good idea. We're at 16 supply now. This drone is going to be the one that makes the hatchery. We're going to send him down there and make the hatchery as soon as he spawns. It should be almost exactly at 300 minerals. Might be just a tad late. But you don't want to interrupt the mining of these guys as much as you can. So we'll have him produce that. We'll go 15 Overlord with this larva so that we can get everything else out on the time that it needs to be done. And then these next 2 larvae, you want to spend those ideally, but we're going to make Zerglings just for a little bit of scouting and a little bit of defense. So there we go. This white rally, of course, is to tell where your other units are besides your drones, or rather where to go. Once that Overlord's done, you want to make your queen so you can start injecting as soon as possible. Our Overlord is arriving at his base, so we want to see what's going on if we possibly can. This is just a computer. He's probably not going to attack us pretty early. We're going to continue to drone up here. And we will need a whole bunch of supply here in just a second, but once this queen is done, we're going to make another Overlord, and we're going to continue to make that. Again, this is really just for the drill. You're going to ideally want to be scouting a lot more than this. We do see a Zealot and a Probe coming out here, so he might be a little bit aggressive. We need to watch out for that. We have a larva sitting around. We definitely want to make that into something. He has no expansion, so you want to kind of react to what your opponent is doing based upon what you're going to see. So once we have that, we're going to transfer this queen down there once she pukes up the creep. We are about in time for an Overlord, and I do have that in queue right now. And it's at this time in the base, or rather in this time in the build, you will notice that he has a Nexus, and I really don't want to lose this Overlord, so this is kind of bad. We're going to take our 3rd base. And from here, I'm going to get really aggressive into making drones. So we're going to basically hotkey this queen to 2 so we can get her back on the base. We're going to transfer her again down to this new one. Now you definitely don't want to get supply blocked here. I lost that Overlord, which is really bad, so right now I can't spend my larva. So that's a huge problem right now, and I really need to do better about cleaning that up. And you can see that the queen is complaining at me that I am missing Overlords, and I definitely am. So that's a huge problem. Make sure you don't lose that scouting Overlord if you can help it. I'm going to transfer drones down here to try and balance out my economy just a little bit better to be sure that everything else is going on time as it needs to. We're getting to the point where this is going to get really fast. And you can see here that you definitely want to use your different hotkeys to try and center your vision on these bases as much as possible. I do want to eventually take double gas. I'll go ahead and do that. And all we're going to be doing here is just practicing making drones as soon as humanly possible. I'm getting a little bit close to the supply block again, so I need to make sure that I have the Overlord out for that. And this queen is going to be our creep queen, so we're going to set her to 4. Oops, I only want the queen, I don't want the drone. So again, all we're doing here is we're just keeping fairly low on units, and we're trying to figure out how long we can afford to wait before we have to start producing units. If you can wait a really long time before you produce units, then that is ideal. And I'm getting supply blocked once again because I'm missing Overlords. So what we're going to be doing here is we're getting into the point where we need to start paying attention a lot to our creep spread and a lot to our injects. Once you start mining gas, we're going to make a Roach Warren, which is D. And like we outlined in the other video, our jobs here is basically going to be to make sure we're producing drones here and make sure that we're injecting as much as humanly possible. I'm going to miss Overlords once again, so you can see I'm making a lot of mistakes here, but it's pretty dang hard to do this and assure that we're doing everything else that needs to be done. If you need to know when he's coming across the map, that's when you're going to want to spend your larva on actual units instead of just drones. You can set some Zerglings over there to assure that you know when to start making units. We're going to go ahead and get speed in our lair. Roaches are done so that if I absolutely need the roaches in order to hold this, I can get that. We did just inject, so we want to start spreading creep once again. And this is about the time we're going to want to start taking extra gases. So you want to stop at about maybe 80 drones. If you get any more than that, you're going to start hurting yourself. And you want to make sure that each base has about 25 drones. That's going to be 19 on minerals and and the 6 on gas. We're going to take our 4th base around 9 minutes here. You want to do your best to try and hit these benchmarks the best you can. And we're going to continue to stay greedy because we know he's not moving across the map right now, considering, oh no, his Zerglings did, or rather our Zerglings did just die, so we need to be careful. Our larva did just finish spawning, so we're going to produce units, especially now that we're maxed on drones. So if you've been keeping up on your overlords, which I have not been, you should be able to produce an army right now. But since I haven't, I just have to hope that he's not going to kill me right now. So you need to be really on top of that kind of stuff. And whoops, I did not mean for these to be drones. Go ahead and add some upgrades here. And considering our hive is done, we're going to add a hydralisk den. We will need another queen to transfer down here, so we're going to go ahead and do that. Actually, we should probably transfer her here. So from here, all you're going to want to pay attention to is how quickly can you max out on your supply. And what we're going to be doing against this Protoss is we're just, for the sake of training, we're just going to be trying to defend attacks over and over here. You can see our bases are getting a little bit oversaturated as we want to be on 19. So we're going to transfer down to this base, and from here, you really just want to stay on 3 mining bases, and any peripheral bases you want to have mining gas. So right now we have a decent buffer with our creep. It could definitely be a lot better. And okay, this one's done. You get back here. So this could definitely be a lot better, and we also need to be sure that we're spending our money the best that we possibly can. So if you can't spend all of your money, you definitely need to add more macro hatches so that you can keep this money pretty low throughout the game. That's one thing I've been slacking on quite a bit. So on these fringe bases, the most important thing is to start mining gas so we can get into our higher tech. And again, all we're doing here is we're just making sure we're making a lot of drones and we're spending all of our money the best we possibly can while making sure to stay up on our creep spread. If you have a whole bunch of tumors out here, don't worry too much about getting all of them. But right now you can see my money is down low where it needs to be. And the only reason that's going to work is if I'm actually injecting like I should be. Why is this queen? Oh, I don't have this one hotkeyed. That would explain it. Alright, right now we're approaching max very soon. Okay, cool. We're at 199 supply. So in this training, we're going to actually be like, okay, cool, we're maxed out. We're just going to wait for him to attack us. We're going to keep spreading our creep so that we can get everything else going. And all we're going to do is we're going to lose armies here kind of on purpose so that I can demonstrate the idea that if you just continue to macro like you should be, then you can hold off attack after attack after attack only because you've been injecting like you should. And we have 2 extra hatcheries here. We need to be careful about injecting there. We need queens to go along with this. And if you need to dump supply in order to get that, that's okay. So again, just do your best as far as injecting as much as you possibly can, because you want that larva in order to be able to remax if he comes and fights you. And again, we don't need any more drones beyond this point, but we do want to continue to take bases so that we can keep up on our gas mining and so that our hive tech is going to be a lot stronger. Our infestation pit is now done, so I'm going to go ahead and grab hive. Considering I don't have enough queens right now, I am being a little bit sloppy on my mechanics as far as getting that done. We did just lose a whole bunch of supply because I intentionally lost those roaches, but you want to be able to refill as soon as humanly possible, so pay close attention to that. And again, I'm maxed. I'm going to cancel a couple of these roach eggs so I can put out a queen here and eject properly. And we have all of our hatcheries working. So yeah, we're just waiting for him to attack us here. We're going to continue to spread our creep so we can take over the whole map. It is 15 minutes and I have roughly half of the map covered in creep. If you're doing this like you should be, you should have a lot more of the map covered than I am. But again, it's really distracting to talk about this and do it at the same time. This hatchery's almost done. We're going to transfer this queen over here. Let's see. See, this does get a little bit sloppy here in the late game. We're going to go ahead and fight, considering I really want to demonstrate the remax potential of Zerg. And why is there no queen here? I'm confused. getting a little bit sloppy as far as controlling this. But what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to just waste this army, because I want to show you guys that the only way you're going to keep up with Zerg in the late game against these other races is that your units aren't going to be as powerful, but you should have more economy than he does, and you should be able to just remake your base, or rather remake all of your army as soon as humanly possible. I hope he doesn't just die here. Okay, he shouldn't. So okay, we're losing a lot of supply. This seems kind of bad, but because we've been injecting, we have all this larva. We have 66 larvae right now, and we can just turn out an entirely new army. So I want to see how our supply jumps once we lose this fight. We actually might not lose this fight. And all I'm demonstrating here is that even against an elite computer, you don't really have to do anything more than just make sure that you're making stuff, that you're making larvae, and that your drones were all on time, and then you had good enough information. So check it out. We're at 91 supply, and I want to remax. So we're going to remax on the same army composition. All I have to do is just alternate between Roach and Hydra, and you can see my supply just fly right back up. And now all my larvae are pretty much spent. Nope, I still have a little bit more. There. Now we have an entirely new army that's going to be built in just a second. So because I was able to do that, I should be able to just reinforce all over the map. And if he tries to attack me right now, I can see him coming from a million miles away. And because I have all these little safeguards, and because I have all this larva stashed up, I'll have an entire army just collecting all right here. And I didn't rally some of my hatcheries, so we might have some army just sitting around. So look at this. Look at all this time I have to prepare because I know he's coming across the map. And I have this entirely new army that I can just be like, okay, well, that's easy. I can just attack right at you and go back to what I need to do. So all I'm really demonstrating in this video is that if you keep up on your creep spread, if you keep up on your injects and everything else that needs to be done with Zerg, the much easier time you're going to have. And this is only possible because I had all those drones early on. I didn't miss very much time with producing drones, and because I've been injecting my hatcheries throughout the game. The creep spread isn't as important, but it does allow that nice little buffer so that you can see when he's coming across the map. And I can just kill him with this. So, I mean, we just fought an elite computer. They don't really get any harder than that. And I did it with minimal effort, only because of all the mechanics that I was able to do. So we'll go through all this and we'll review the replay. We'll see where we made mistakes and we'll try to get better. There's that inject once again, and if you're not familiar with that, I did cover that in the last video. You just select your queen, you tell it to inject, you hold shift, and you hit the switch between bases button, so I can inject everything really, really fast. And again, he should die. I hate it when the computer does this. We're down a little bit low in supply once again, and because we have 73 larvae since we've been continuing to inject, I can just remake my entire army once again. This guy really needs to die. Whoops, not that. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say. That's pretty much how you play Zerg, but I do want to get into the replay so that we can focus on what else needs to be done here. And I'll explain a little bit more about how to build on this, but the fundamentals are there. We'll check to see if my injects were on time, we'll check to see my creep spread was okay, and we'll check to see what kind of safety we had throughout the game. Now that we're on Hive Tech, you definitely want to start jumping into different tiers of units, so if you want to get ultras out, you can do that. But still, I mean, the most important thing is that if you have this much money and if you have the ability to just continue to remake your army and over, then you don't really have to worry that much about much else in the game. I mean, you do have to worry about when he's going to be coming and what else is going on, but yeah, just continue to take bases throughout the game. Make sure you're mining minerals from at least 3 mining bases, so there's one here for me, one here, and I don't really have a third one because of them spread out so much in gas. But that's because I'm going to be on Hive Tech pretty soon, and Hive Tech is very gas heavy. So it's okay to start balancing them out a little bit more like that. Yeah, this guy really just needs to leave. I don't know what else to say. I wish he would just die already so we could get that fine little victory screen, because I'm sure you don't want to watch a Zerg tutorial in which I just quit. Again, we'll continue to overview this, and I can't hammer this in enough, that when you want to inject, you want to make sure at first that you have enough queens for every base, which I did kind of a poor job of keeping on top of. But if you do that and you want to inject, we're going to select the spawn larva button. We're going to press space to get to the next button, or rather get to the next base. And all we're going to be doing is alternating between space and clicking while we're holding shift down, so we can inject all of our bases really fast. And then we can go back to what we're doing. And I'm starting to lose a little bit of army here once again, so I'll just go ahead and refill as much as I can. Oh, I still have another army just sitting around, so... Now, once these bases start to get mined out, make sure that you don't have as many drones here that are mining on just one base, because I have like 18 mining on just this one base, and that's a waste. Just transfer them over to a new base so you can assure that they're all active. Ah, man, I hate it when the computer does this. They just sit around forever. Okay, yeah, I don't... Again, I don't really know what else to say. I mean, we've killed him. We've done nothing but just focus on making units and just attacking at him, and we don't care if we lose our army because we can just replace it. I'm going to go on record and say that you could really get into quite high leagues. You could probably even get into Diamond if you just did something similar to this every single game, where all you did was just produce drones up until to a point where you were forced to produce units, or when you were max on drones. So in this particular game, I just made drones until I had enough units because I knew that he wasn't coming across the map via my creep spread and via my lings that were sitting out in front of his base. Otherwise, the other games are going to be a lot different. You might have to react a lot more with Zerg, and we'll get to that here in the replay. So let me go ahead and get that started up. And we'll watch it pretty fast so we're not just repeating ourselves over and over. Most of all, I want to focus on the mistakes that I made in this game, because I did make quite a few, and I want you to see how much that hurts me throughout the course of the game. Again, this opener is really standard. You can use this in pretty much every matchup. It's just a 14 pool, 16 hatch, 15 overlord, and then 2 queens out of your main. You're going to transfer 1 to your natural so you can inject as soon as possible. So let's see what mistakes I made. And I'll be happy to just criticize myself as much as possible. Whoops, wrong button. There were a couple of instances here where I did have a larva sitting around and I had the money for a drone and I just didn't make it on time. Like that one right there is kind of a problem, although I was saving money for a pool. But yeah, you want to be sure that the larva is being spent as soon as it is available, if you have the money to spend it, unless you're not sure if he has an attack coming across the map. That's the only time you should really pool larva and money at the same time. So okay, we sent our drone down here to take our third. That's a little bit late, and that's only because I didn't make drones as fast as I should. So that's going to throw me off by about 3 or 4 seconds, and that can be a big deal in higher up games. Our pool's done. We need our queen on the way as soon as we have the resources for it, and there she goes. And again, you want to spend your money as best as you possibly can in these early stages of the game, because if I have money sitting around and I'm not making a queen, that means my queen is going to be about 5 or 6 seconds late, and that could be the difference between me having the inject and having the larva ready for more drones later. It just really piles up on itself, and it gets to be a huge problem if you don't pay attention to it. I hope that this is all recording. Okay, cool. Wait, let me double check that. Yeah, okay. I've been having a lot of stream problems lately, so I hope this is going correctly. So we'll go ahead and resume. This overlord needs to see what's going on in their base. If they have taken a base by now, by the time your overlord gets there, which you can be a little more discreet about scouting. You probably want to send it in like over here and then just peek at it if you possibly can, or be over here in the dead space. But if he has taken a natural, that's the key for me to take a third base. And he does it right here, as I can see his probe doing it. So that's my key to know that I can go ahead and take a third base. Again, my money is piling up just a little bit, but I am saving some for a hatchery, so you can see that plopping down right there. And from here, again, you want to make sure that you have all of your larvae spent as soon as possible, and you want to start getting your injects going. So you want to hotkey your queens. I hotkey mine to 2 when I play because I have my hatcheries on 1. This queen transfer was a little too early. In retrospect, I would have kept her here, or I would have just made her my creep queen, considering I don't need her to sit here for this long, although it can sometimes be useful just to protect it against some random units that might try and come in and snipe this hatchery otherwise. So, yeah, I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world. Once again, I have a whole bunch of larvae sitting around here that aren't being spent yet, and I do have some money sitting around, so that's my fault. I also do have a lot of problematic supply blocks throughout this, which really halts my drone production. So you want to be focused on keeping a 5th eye or whatever else you need to make sure that you're not getting supply blocked here. And there's a huge supply block here. I'm just waiting for it to come up so I can demonstrate how painful this is. And if you're macroing correctly, you can see you can make swarms of drones at a time. And I know I can do this because if he has a base this early, I shouldn't be getting attacked. And even if I am, I can lose these lings in order to know if he's coming across the map. So again, just to reinforce that rule, early on in these stages of the games, only make drones unless you're prompted to make units by him doing something. If you're making units and just having a whole bunch of stuff sitting around here, that could have been a whole bunch of extra drones that could be helping your income. and ultimately your income is going to dictate who has the more powerful army throughout the game. So right here is my huge supply block. I have a whole bunch of larvae that need to be spent. I have 6 here, 5 here, and 5 here because they all just finished up. These could all be drones, but because I'm supply blocked, then that's really bad. I can't make any drones, and I'm just having unspent larvae sitting around. Again, it's pretty distracting to have to explain all this, especially when Zerg is not my best race. But again, we'll just hammer this in over and over. Only make drones unless you're prompted by him to do something else. And this is why I didn't know what was going on. I mean, I could see his army size here, and I know the computer won't be bold enough to push out on the map here, so I was kind of metagaming just a bit. So okay, this is the stage of the game where your creep spread is going to start taking into effect. Every single time you inject, I want you to inject as fast as you can possibly do it, and again, we went over those tricks before, and especially a lot in the previous video, which is the Zerg mechanics video. Immediately after you inject, center on your creep queen. You can get 2 or 3 if you feel more comfortable that way. Have her put a tumor down and spread all your other tumors so that you can get map vision out as far as possible and as soon as possible, so that you have vision throughout the game, and especially in the later stages of the game where you need that information as far as when he's walking across the map. In a bind, we'll cover this in a different video, but I'll mention it really fast. If you have layer done and you don't have that good a creep spread because you've been getting pressured for quite a bit, you can turn on the creep barfing and split up your overlords here, and then have your 2 or 3 creep queens come out and just set tumors all around the map, and then move your overlords back so that you can get creep spread that way as well. So let's check out our economy here. We have 68 drones with a whole bunch on the way. So now we're at 83 drones. This is about as high as you're going to want to get at any point in the game, until later on when you understand that you can go up to really high drone counts and just turn them into spines late in the game. So at this point, it's starting to become a problem once again. I am super duper supply blocked, and I have a whole bunch of money sitting around. If I were to get attacked right now, I would die or I would at least lose a base, because I have all this money sitting around, and that is useless if I have nothing to show for it. So let's just pretend that his army is right here, and his army has come to attack me. If this is the case and I'm supply blocked, I have all this money sitting around, he's just going to kill me because I won't be able to get units out fast enough to deal with that. So that's why you need to have units sitting out here, that's why you need to have overlords, that's why you need to have larvae ready to go. There's a lot to pay attention to as Zerg, like I was saying, it's pretty difficult. But I know that the more you practice it, the better you're going to be able to do with it, and the easier you're just going to be able to run people over with solid macro. I did make an overseer here, that was a little bit of a mistake once again. So now that all that's done, at least I can produce units with the larvae that I have created. I do have a whole bunch of roaches on the way, and I'm maxed on drones. I mean, this is about as many as you're going to want to get up to, and I will start gradually losing drones as I make more buildings and hatcheries and stuff. Pay attention to that you don't overdo it as far as like getting down into like the low 70s or high 60s. You don't want to really get that low with Zerg drones. So replace your drones if you do notice yourself making a whole bunch of extra buildings. Like, just to take the space takes 3 drones away from me because I have to spend 1 on the hatchery and 2 more on the gases. So keep an eye on that, but otherwise you're just in full-on unit production mode, which is just injecting, which is just creep spread, and which is just making sure you always have a decent army on the field as much as possible. Now if you can max out on basically strictly lair tech, which is all I'm doing is just roach hydra this game. If you can max out on that by about 13 minutes as Zerg, then your army is going to be, or rather than your macro is going to be really good. And most of the people that watch these videos are going to be, not masters or whatever. You should actually just be able to make that and just attack him and kill him most games. So I can't stress enough that how important this is. I wanted to let him build up an army so I could show how you guys could just sit here and let him attack you over and over. We're still going to max out at about 13 minutes anyway, and that's really solid. If I was doing this on the ladder, even in Platinum, I'd probably just attack him and he would die. So yeah, it's really important to make sure that you have that going. Once you're maxed out, this is kind of the third phase of the game. Once you're maxed, or once you're at least comfortable with your army size, you want to start thinking about getting up into hive. So put your infestation pit down, make sure your upgrades are still spinning, and get your hive up as soon as possible and start taking extra bases so that you have 5 bases worth of gas, so you can switch into ultras or into infestors or whatever else you might want to do in the late game. So normally, let's take a look at these army sizes. I'm at 198 supply. Let's wait for the rest of this to spawn so we can see what it looks like. There they are, most of the armies together. So if I have this many units, let's check the units tab. I have 49 roaches and 8 hydras. If I were to just straight up attack him right now, and this is about what you'll see in maybe platinum level, about this size of army, If I were just to attack him right now, he would die, only because I have this much stuff, and because I have all this money and all this larva left over to replace my army. So, I really can't stress that enough. What the... Anyway, it just randomly switched the colors, but... Anyway, so yeah, I can't stress enough how important that is. You have enough drones, and you can replace your army on an instant. So you can see I lost my entire roach ball, but I just remade that instantly, because I had the money. So I'm doing kind of a crappy job on my creep spread. If you're spreading creep like you should be, by 15 minutes this should be knocking at his door. You should have enough creep tumors, and if you're injecting as fast as possible and you're able to spread creep as fast as possible, if you can have creep at his front door by about 15 minutes, then he's going to be suffocated. He'll have a hard time getting out of his base at all, because you'll be able to see everywhere that he goes, and your army will be able to get up and around the map a lot faster. So that was one thing that I did lack on quite a bit, was my creep spread. So I guess the two benchmarks that you can pay attention to is that if you're not being bothered and you're not being forced to produce units other than drones throughout the game, you should max by really no later than 13 minutes, and you should have creep up on his front door about 15 minutes. So in your own games, try your best, and you can do this macro drill to get up that far. I'm not sure what else to say. I mean, we've pretty much gone over everything that needs to be done. So we'll go ahead and jump back into our splash screen here. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions specifically about the game that took place here, go ahead and leave them in the comments. I'll be happy to answer them. Or if there's enough of people asking the same thing and I just would be repeating myself, I will make a new video regarding whatever questions you guys might have. So I hope you enjoyed it. Leave me any comments if you have any, and we'll see you guys next time.